Have you ever been in a healing session, or even just a deep conversation, where one tiny phrase changes everything? I had a moment like that recently. I was starting a session, and just as I began, I felt the presence of my client's 2-year-old inner child wanting to be included. So I did something a little different. Instead of just inviting the inner child in, I made a declaration, both to myself and to the space: nothing is excluded. It sounds simple, right? But that one statement shifted the entire dynamic in the most beautiful way. It wasn't about me, the healer, working on a subject, my client. Suddenly it was about creating a single, shared space where absolutely everything was allowed to exist. The structure changed from a straight line to a circle, a field where there was no inside or outside. It's interesting because this lines up perfectly with a non-intervention philosophy I've been exploring called do nothing. It's about allowing things to unfold naturally without forcing them. Thinking about this symbolically, like with tarot cards, the energy of nothing is excluded is the Empress. She represents the ultimate mother field, total acceptance and nourishment without judgment. The Empress doesn't pick and choose who gets to grow or who gets healed. She simply creates the perfect environment where life can organize itself. That's exactly what my statement did. It wasn't "I will now include the child," which still implies I'm the one in charge. It was "there is no outside." Energetically, that is a huge shift. Exclusion creates tension, but true inclusion dissolves it. Now, why did the 2-year-old self show up? Symbolically, that age represents our proverbial memories, our earliest attachment patterns and raw survival emotions. It's where our bodies store trauma before we even have words for it. So when that part of someone asks to join, it's often a sign that the deepest layer is finally ready to be seen and healed, and the timing was perfect. Right after I said nothing is excluded and welcomed that 2-year-old aspect, my own body's response intensified. I started yawning more, tears came. My body had little jerks and sharp intakes of breath. These weren't mental or emotional releases tied to a story. They were purely somatic, coming from the body. It made perfect sense. The release was matching the developmental layer that had just shown up. There's a subtle but powerful distinction here. The phrase "nothing is excluded" is actually a more advanced state than simply including the child. When you include something, you're still acting as the gatekeeper, deciding what gets to come in. But when you declare that nothing is excluded, you remove the gate and the gatekeeper entirely. You're stepping into a state of unconditional awareness. A bit like the concept of Wu Wei or non-doing. It reminds me of the field awareness in Tai Chi, where you don't just focus on one opponent. You become aware of the entire space around you. So, instead of working on my client, I became the space in which she could safely reorganize herself. That's why my own body had such a strong reaction. When the field expands like that, your nervous system can act as a regulator for the entire space. My yawns and shakes weren't just my own personal stuff coming up for release. They were the shared system, the unified field, self-balancing and dissipating any excess charge. It's not about taking on someone else's energy, but about allowing it to move and dissipate through the shared space we created together. This experience really highlighted how powerful it is to shift from doing to allowing, from directing to holding space. It's a profound lesson in trusting that when we create the right conditions, healing will happen all on its own. Thanks so much for listening to this story. If it resonated with you, I'd love for you to subscribe and join our community. See you in the next video.